I tend to measure return on investment consistently. Consistently. I need return on investment for my energy. Whenever I feel like I'm experiencing diminishing returns, I check out. I check out. Diminished returns. If I feel like I'm giving more energy and I'm not getting an equal and opposite reaction, shout out to thermodynamics, I check out. Mental health is one of those things that it accrues if not addressed properly. Mental health, especially in regards to anxiety, nothing has to be wrong for you to feel anxiety. And that's why I hate anxiety. That's why I have a huge level of empathy to someone who says they deal with it, whether or not they're telling the truth, whether or not it's just a cop out or excuse. It's real because I experience it. And unfortunately, some people have to experience something before they can have empathy for someone else. It's unfortunate. But I was one of those people. I'm like, all right, you say you got anxiety. I saw one person have a panic attack, and I'm like, we're at Starbucks. What's the issue? What is so wrong that you? Come on. I had no idea. It's real. I sat in a therapy session, and the term autism came up. And you're like, Isaiah, after talking to you for this brief 15 to 20 minutes, um, have you ever, been diagnosed with autism? And it didn't click with me. All this talk of Virgos are analytical, and I'm like, cool. But I've always been that kind of just outside the lines. I've always been just a tad out of pocket. There's people that are analytical, and then there's people like me that just have to dissect everything. I can't seem to buy something without studying it for 30 hours, which is fine because I don't typically regret my purchases. I tend to thoroughly enjoy them because I researched it. Like this camera I'm using, the A6400, I know everything about it. iPhone 13 Pro Max. I didn't arrive at, oh, I just want an iPhone. No, I studied the shit. I'm like, Brad, the screens have a lower pixel count per inch versus Galaxy phones, but somehow they're pulling it off. I study it. Comes with that typically is indecisiveness, anxiety. When I go to a restaurant, I perform best under pressure. I scan the menu. As soon as I sit down, I scan the menu, and then I close it because I already know what I want. If I stare at the menu too long, I'm gonna start getting into it's too much. Where I'm like, all right, you're doing too much. It's just a menu. It has most of the same foods as any other restaurant. Close the menu. You already know what you want. And so usually when I sit down at a table, I look at the menu, scan through it, and I close it. I wait for the waiter to come, and I let the person I'm with usually order before me. Or if I'm there by myself, I count 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. It's always been the pizza. Just bring the pizza. Hurry up. Bring the pizza. Bring everything on it. No vegetables. Don't play with me. Make sure that the piglet is on 10. Make my junk crispy. Make it with love. Do it now. Hurry up. I already knew what I wanted. It's just you get too many options and you become indecisive. Where you're like, I want all of it. I want all of it. ASD. So autism tends to be, well, according to professionals, it's an expired term. Also Asperger's. They both combine to become ASD, which is simply a spectrum of autism. Asperger's being high functioning, where you look like probably me, like a normal person, but they're high functioning in terms of a lot of these small little quirks they have. I'm like, all right, those aren't normal. Why do you keep doing these? Like, why are you like this? Why are you like this? And then you have autism where it's just probably incapacitating in nature. ASD is something that I haven't been diagnosed with it, but it's something I'm keeping an eye on. Mainly because I watched several videos on it and just studying myself, I believe I'm on the spectrum somewhere. Probably near closer to the Asperger's point. But if I evaluate myself objectively, I can see how I'm like, Brad, you got a ton of issues, Brad. It's different. It's different. I won't get into those right now, but they're there. Trust me. Trust me, they're there. Um, ASD doesn't tend to work well in restricted military environments. In regards, like it's just when you have a mind like mine, I don't function well with disorder. Y'all see the shot, the couches, the picture. It took me probably close to an hour to get everything perfect, and it's one of the issues with being a creative is that all right, if this is going to live forever on the internet, I can't have too much space above my head. It needs to be just right, or it's going to bug me. It's going to bug me. I want to sit in the rule of thirds, separate the screen into three equal parts. It needs to be right. I need the couch just so, the pillows just so, and my background better be bocalicious. Got my junk on 1.4, you understand? 16 millimeter, 24 millimeter equivalent, full frame, 6400 aperture priority. You see me out here, man. My audio better be on 10. It's a little echoey, but it's not my place. I need to get a travel mic. I have a Samsung Go, but it's not cutting anymore. Anyway, yeah. I don't believe that the way my mind works is going to fit well in an environment that has fax machines. It doesn't seem to work well. A mind like mine doesn't seem to work well in an environment that still uses paper for most of their processes. We have phones with cords on them. I have an i5 Dell with like 4 gigs of RAM. For someone who studies all their tech and like gets in and like into the weeds, I'm like, I can't seem to. It's bothered me to have a phone with a crack in it. My last phone had a crack in it. I'm like, I can't keep looking at this. It's disorder. I can't look at my body in the mirror and say, I'm okay with that. Body positivity. I can't look at myself and say, you're perfect just the way you are. Don't change anything. Don't try to improve. Don't try to be better. Look at your, it's perfect. I can't, and I won't. There's certain things that you just can't. You're able to adapt and you're able to see certain things and just kind of get over it. But I'm not in a place where I'm able to just, long term, it doesn't work. Long term, it's like trying to walk around with a broken bone. I'm like, all right, well, I can still walk. It's just a small little bone in my foot. It doesn't incapacitate me completely, but it's trying to live with something broken. It's a sign of insanity. Straight jacket mode. It's too much. It's too much. And again, I haven't been diagnosed. And I'm not one of these WebMD people that just, you read the first thing, you just jump off and like, oh, I read on it, WebMD, it has to be true. It must be true. I'm not one of those people. However, I'm able to measure a correlation. And I'm like, I seem to have too many of these traits. Too many of them. And it's not only that I have them, but they're heightened. So yeah, whatever level of Asperger's I may or may not be dealing with, it doesn't seem to work well in the military environment. It doesn't seem to work well in the military environment. So what do we do? Change the military environment, or do we leave? We leave. I've brought up so many different ideas and changes that could be useful in the military environment, and it just does not work. It just does not work. They'll listen to it, that they'll acknowledge you. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I always knew that paper was inefficient. I always knew that we should be using pencils in the military. I always knew a fax machine should have been done away with decades ago. Oh, you have a Dell with 4 gigs of RAM? I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me get you a MacBook. Let me get you 16 gigs of RAM. Let me get you an i7 and i9. Oh, you have so many Excel sheets open. You use Google Chrome more than Internet Explorer, but it takes up a lot of RAM, so you're going to need way more RAM than you're using. You can bring it up all you want. One or two things, like a couple of symptoms, might be addressed, but it's not going to change. The system has been here way before any of you, before me. It's going to be here after me. The military is like an iceberg. It moves very slowly, but it crushes anything in its path.